All right, everyone. We are live. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay.
I
Um,
can hear you.
yeah, I'm actually using my Blue Yeti mic for the first time ever. So everyone in the live chat, if you guys can hear me okay, if it's too loud, if it's too low, let me know. I can kind of play around with the all right,
The
everyone.
gain.
We are live, but I don't know. It's really weird, dude. So anyhow, we got a special guest this afternoon, or I should say this
I'm not
morning.
special.
Yeah, making a return appearance to Brap. It's been for a long time, man. We have Senor Worry Word on. Worry, what is going on, dude?
How are you? How you doing? You sound great on that Blue Yeti microphone. I'm using Apple AirPod in my ear, which is the best earpods you can possibly own, made by Apple, by the way.
Yeah. Now imagine everyone now getting rid of the the USB whatever it was earbuds and going Bluetooth now, right?
Right. When they
Yeah.
no more headphone jack. Remember that one?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Headphone jack. Yeah. So so
Right, right,
so
right,
no more headphone
right.
jack. But hey, give it. I want to give a shout out to everyone in the live chat real quick. Worry. We have Buck Rogers, Born Distracted. We have
Buck
Talus
Rogers.
says, "Dang, took forever. Sorry about that." Graphic God, Jay's in the house says, "You sound great. Thank you." I hope I don't sound like an adult entertainer. That's the kind of thing that worries me about these bikes. You know what I mean? So,
Oh,
um,
I don't even know how to respond to that one.
yeah. You know what's weird is that in the stream, I'm unable to connect to the chat for some reason. I don't know what's going on. This is the
What do
joy of YouTube
what
beta.
do adult entertainers sound like? Don't they just make like a lot of noises, like grunting and stuff like that?
Like that.
Oh, okay. Well, you sound like an adult entertainer.
I do. So, but not worry. It's good to have you back on, man. Like I said, it's been a long time, man. So I'm glad you had some time to hang out with us, man. We got
Yeah,
a
I'm
lot of
usually
news to
never
talk
off.
about.
Yeah, PS5,
Yeah,
the
PlayStation
world's most
5.
powerful console.
Well, oh boy. All right. So Sony has released. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Just like Enrique. What does that mean? Is that a reference to porn stars?
just like Enrique. I don't know. Maybe you're. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. I really don't. Okay.
I'm
So
not seeing your chat.
yeah. Um, so like I was saying, Sony released some. He's had practice. Okay. Now this is getting out of hand. Wow. I don't even know how to comment to that or respond to that.
What's the matter? What happened? I
People.
don't see anything.
Well, the live chat people are saying that I've had practice making those grunting noises.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
now, people are referring to me as Enrique Suave in the live chat.
Oh,
All
Jesus.
right, guys, hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. All right, so Sony's released some new details on the PlayStation 5. Worry, no shocker here. We have the official name of Sony's next generation console, and guess what? It's going to be PlayStation 5.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
You know what was interesting? They said that they are not going to announce the name of the controller yet. What do you think it's going to be called? DualShock 5?
You know what? If I was a betting man, I would say it's going to be the
Right,
DualShock
DualShock
5.
5.
Yeah. Hey,
The
which
big
is
news
really
is the hardware accelerated ray tracing, right? Hardware based,
yes,
not software based.
not software
I know everybody,
based.
everybody, everybody was hoping it was software based so that it could be, another console war talking point.
Oh well, they people were already running with that narrative when they were speculating that it was software based. Like, oh, that's going to be the advantage that Microsoft, Project Scarlet has over the PlayStation 5. That it's going to have hardware based ray tracing. Software based ray tracing sucks. And Mark Cerny never confirmed that it was going to have software based ray tracing. That was just
Yeah,
based.
he actually mentions that. There's an article I read this morning. He actually mentions that when he spoke about that, he kind of left the door open and he saw a bunch of people running with the idea that it wasn't hardware based. And he wanted to make that clear today in the article. I forget where the article's from. I think it's Wired.
Wired, yeah, yep. And he
Right.
made that very clear. He wanted to. He made a point to go back and kind of clarify that because he saw that people ran with the idea that it might be software based ray tracing, but it's not. So we found that out today. Some other additional details regarding the PlayStation 5. The what I thought was pretty cool, Worry,
Controller.
was the prototype of the DualShock 5 that they let the journalists hold
Right.
with the haptic
Right. With the
feedback and
haptic.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
what
going
did
to
you
be
think about
interesting to
that?
see how that actually. I mean, it's hard to get a feel for something that you have to feel when somebody's talking about it. Like they were talking about, I think Gran Turismo, the different environments, the snow, the mud, and how you can actually feel the difference in the triggers. And then they talked about, I think they referenced like using a bow and arrow, and you can actually feel the draw of the string on the trigger. And they mentioned something about a machine gun and feeling the recoil and the reload and stuff like that. So it's not something that you can experience without actually experiencing it. So reading about it isn't something that I think is going to come across very well. But it's interesting to hear that they're working on not just new hardware, but updating the controller. The only thing I would love them to update in the controller beyond haptic feedback and all this stuff is give me a battery that lasts more than an hour, and I'd be happy.
Yeah, that's my concern is the battery life on this thing. I mean, like as he's describing some of the feedback that he was feeling through the controller, describing like traversing through sand, which he said felt slow and sloggy. He said mud
Right.
felt slow and sloggy on the ice. He said the high frequency response made the thumbsticks really feel like the character was gliding. He said jumping into a pool, I got a sense of the resistance of the water on a wooden bridge, a bouncy suspension. Yeah, I mean, it makes me think like, okay,
It's going to
what?
be drawing a lot of battery power, right, to do that.
Yeah, and you notice they say that it's using USB C, but
Yes.
you can also keep it plugged and use a controller and play at the same time, which I'm
Right.
just speculating here. Leads me to believe a little bit that this thing's gonna have drain the life out of this battery.
You know what? I mean, the PlayStation 4 controller has horrible battery life, and I don't think that's really hindered the PlayStation 4 in terms of people using it, buying games and stuff like that. So it would be nice for them to upgrade it. The worst case scenario is that it's a little bit better, which is better than this generation. So
Yeah, I would say if it's a little bit better, I would welcome that, especially with the haptic controls and everything. I mean, if they can do what this journalist is describing that they're doing with this prototype, if that in fact makes it to the final product, I mean, I'm not going to complain, man. It just adds to me. It just adds another element to that gameplay experience. So, I'm not going to complain about it if it's even slightly better than what we have with the battery life with the PlayStation 4. But you're right, where you're like for me, like I've never really been overly frustrated with the battery life of the PlayStation 4. Um, One thing I did to kind of extend the battery life for the DualShock 4 was just uh,
dim
turn
the light.
on, yeah, dim the light, exactly.
Right. It's
Yes.
still, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm frustrated by it, but I do notice. I mean, it just dies very quickly, even with the light dim. But again, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it comes down to, games, the games that you're going to play, the games that they're going to make for the system. And, based on what they've done this generation with the PlayStation 4, and we're not even done yet. We haven't got The Last of Us 2 yet. I couldn't imagine, 2 years in, 3 years into the life of the PS5, what we're going to get
Yeah. I want to go to the live
from
chat
first
here.
party. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go to the live chat real quick. Irrelevant Native, what's going on, man? He says, can't wait to see all the Xbox fanboy counter arguments to all the features that were spoken about. I hope there's no counter arguments. People should celebrate the stuff. That whole
Twitter's terrible.
that
It
whole
is just awful.
that whole console
Jesus.
wars thing is just trivial to me.
I've already seen people talking about how, not my way of hyping up a console just in a tweet. I'm like, Jesus, come on, man.
Oh my
It
goodness.
just gets ridiculous. I think
Yeah.
it's gotten there. Hasn't it jumped the shark already? Haven't we gotten to the point where it's everything's just sort of jumped the shark?
I don't know,
Don't you
man.
think this generation kind of killed like everything? We can't possibly do this again next generation, can we?
Oh, we're going to. It's going to be. Well, here's the thing. It's
There's
funny.
going to
Like,
be there's going to be no difference between these consoles. Very small differences. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to buy one console to play the third party games at a little bit higher resolution and frame rate like you are this generation. The differences are going to be so small. It's going to come down to content.
yeah, I think it's going to come down to content and services. I think that's a
Yeah.
reason why Sony has kind of tweaked PlayStation Now. I think in part is a response to Google with Stadia kind of entering into the picture here, but I think a lot of this is also ties into kind of the evolution of services on consoles now, and I think that them changing the subscription price, the fee for that, and adding first party games like God of War. I think that's going to be a continual evolution for Sony because I like you said I think it's going to come down to content, but I would throw in service. as well for next generation. But let me ask you something, because I've had this conversation online with, like, can Microsoft, is next generation a clean slate for them? And I know that, you and I have been gaming for a long time. We've seen this. We've seen, and even Jim Ryan pointed this out, CEO of Sony Entertainment, or I forget his official title, but he mentioned that the incumbent has never really won the next console gen, and so we've seen that. History has shown us that that's not always the case with the incumbent.
Right.
But
Here's the thing: there's possible, and then there's probable, right?
Yeah.
Anything's possible next generation. And the PS2 was the most successful console ever, and they went from the PS2 generation to the PS3 and lost a whole lot of market share in North America. But I think that things are a little bit different now with the fact that, like you're saying, you have services, you have people tied into things now. I'm not sure that I would say the PS5, in terms of being the dominant console that people game on next generation, isn't going to be the dominant console. I don't think that the Scarlet is going to be, the dominant console in the market next generation. It's possible, but I just don't think it's probable, especially with everything that's happened this generation. The fact that they've already said that they don't want to get complacent like they did going from that PS2 generation to the PS3. The fact that Yoshida came out and said that their first party's goal should be always to push their hardware. Jim Ryan actually reiterated then the idea of using services again to grow, to get more fans from the PC to look at PlayStation ecosystem and maybe bring them back into the hardware. But I don't know. It's very possible, but it's just not probable that they're going to get blown out next generation and then Xbox is going to be the dominant console. I don't know if anybody actually believes that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like I felt like this console generation was the generation of locking people into ecosystems, right? And because Sony's now offering backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4. Now, granted, they're not doing it. They're not offering backwards compatibility per se. PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1. Although you could play those games on PlayStation Now, streaming them. I felt like this generation was the generation where you had to lock people into the ecosystem. And if you didn't, you're going to have a hard time convincing those people that are into the, let's say, Xbox ecosystem, PlayStation ecosystem, to make that switch next console generation.
It's not. Just look at what happened today, right? One tweet about the PlayStation 5, the name, a little bit of information about the controller, and the idea that ray tracing is hardware based, and the entire internet. PlayStation 5 is trending #1, and that's just with a tweet and a little article. So I think the PlayStation has that worldwide appeal. You know what I mean?
That brand power.
There seems to be a lot more interest from just console gaming. I think I said it. I was on BGST, and I said that Xbox is kind of a victim of their own success. They're such a big company, and they do so many different things that they don't have to be hyper focused on communicating console to console gamers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it makes
the way that
sense.
Sony's hyper focused on talking about PlayStation. So I just don't think it's probable that they're they pull a 360 next generation like they did going from the OG Xbox to the Xbox 360.
Yeah, to your point about Sony having this worldwide appeal and trending #1 on Twitter. Look, they skipped E3, and they were still the talk of the town. It's and I don't know if anyone else could do that, in the gaming industry. But this is going to be interesting. I think next console generation. But I agree with your original point. Content.
Microsoft has to have content. They have to have content beyond just people saying, "Well, I liked it." Those people are like, "Well, I liked it."
Yeah.
The game that came out. Well, I liked it. They have to have. They need their own Last of Us brand. They need their own Uncharted brand. Halo, Gears of War, Forza. As different and as good as Gears 5 was and some of the chances that it took, it was still the 5th iteration of Gears. We ended this generation with Gears 5. There hasn't been that new IP that's sort of taken off and become a phenomenon.
No.
It just hasn't happened. I mean, you can say you like Sea of Thieves, you can say you like State of Decay. I happen to love Crackdown 3, but it's, I'm not blind to the fact that it's not that great of a game. I just enjoy the loop of jumping, collecting orbs, the platforming, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they need their own new IP that's just breathtaking, that takes, the console gaming world by storm. And I
Well,
don't know if they're going to deliver that.
well, that's what we have to wait and see. I mean, I think it's great that they've acquired all these studios, but
Sure. I mean, some of them. I mean, I think the initiative, I think the best chance for a huge AAA, amazing new franchise comes from two studios. One's Ninja Theory and one's the Initiative. I think everybody else is going to give you, double A, single A content. But I think those two studios are the best chance to deliver something huge,
something like a big AAA experience.
like something
Yeah.
brand new that hits hard. Like when Gears of War came out. You remember how that hit? I mean, it was just, there was nothing like it. It
No.
just put Xbox on the map the same way that the original Halo did on the OG Xbox.
Yeah, they didn't have that game this console generation that put the Xbox One on the map. Not
Now,
like
do you think it has to be something new, or do you think it could be like a rebirth of Fable, or should it be something completely different that we've never even heard of before when it comes to Xbox? You think Fable can do that, even though we've heard of it before?
that's a good question, man. I don't know. Me personally, I would want it to be something new because
Right,
I've played 3 or 4 iterations of Fable already.
right.
And not that I
I mean, it
wouldn't.
could be new. It could be new, but it's still called Fable. You know what I mean? I'm looking for that brand new IP that you've never heard of before, and then you see it, and you're just like, I have to get an Xbox. Well, even though you don't have to anymore. But I mean, you know what I mean? Something that motivates console gamers to run out and buy it.
Yeah, I think it's got to be something. Me personally, I would prefer it to be something new. Something that, like you said, makes me want to go out and not buy an Xbox per se, because I have Ultimate Game Pass, so I can play it on my PC.
Right.
But
And I know. You've announced to the world you're moving to PC, right?
yes, and let me tell you something, Rory. It has been an
How
amazing
dare you tell
experience,
people you're right? How dare you tell people? How
Rory. But
dare you?
I'm telling you, man, it's been an amazing experience, man. Graphic God says, "Aren't you guys a little bit too old to be talking about video games?"
Yeah,
Yes, we are.
probably are.
Yeah, we probably are. I'm in my 40s, so maybe not,
Oh
but
yeah.
um,
I know. I saw your tweet and I saw the responses to it. Like, why do you have to tell people you're getting away from Xbox? Why do you have to mention it?
yeah.
Just don't even mention it.
Oh, I got a
Lord
lot of.
have mercy.
Hey, let me tell you something. The hate that I got over that tweet was just.
It's insane.
It was, yeah.
You
I'm
know,
like,
people don't even get. If you're getting paid, like I understand Aaron Greenberg, like putting his arms together to make an X symbol. I get it. The guy gets paid to do
yeah,
that,
it's
but I
his
mean,
job.
Lord have mercy. What's going on?
I don't know, man. I think some of those reactions, some of those individuals, I think there's something else going on, and I'll just leave it at that. I don't think that emotion's coming from a healthy place, so I'll leave it at that. Um, but
Are
I
you
would.
going PlayStation?
What's that?
They both launched the same time. Which one are you getting?
Oh, PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I know. It kind of feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to buy a Scarlet right now. I don't.
I have that's what I'm thinking about. I'm gonna get it. I have to get. I'm a console gamer. I don't care about PC. I don't care about. I can play my games. If there's a game on Xbox and it's on PC, to me, it's an Xbox exclusive. I don't care. You know what I mean?
It was exclusive to the ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
just don't care. But I mean, I just don't. They haven't said anything yet. I mean, they haven't really shown anything yet. That's the thing with Microsoft. I don't understand why they can show, like, for instance, they had their event and they showed two pieces of hardware that come out the end of the year next year. They showed that, but they won't show you a game they're working on. Do you know what I mean? They won't show you anything
No, and even
when it
with
comes to gaming. It's ridiculous.
and even
Like,
with
here's two pieces of hardware that are going to come out holiday 2020. The Surface, what are they? Neo and Duo. I mean, it's a year away.
Neo
It's a
Duo.
year away. Right. They showed it. But they can't show, like, concept art of Fable. They can't show concept art of a new IP for next
Well,
generation.
they showed us the Halo trailer, Infinite. That's gonna be a launch title
Ugh.
with the Xbox One, the Xbox Scarlet.
Yeah, that didn't excite me. there was just something that just didn't excite me. Did it excite you? What you saw?
No, no. I've been on this thing of kill
It could
Master
be
Chief.
great. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't kill Mario. You know what I mean? You can't kill Kratos. I don't know if Master Chief can go.
I
But I would love for them to evolve it the way they did with God of War. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to. I think I'm just tired of. I
Halo,
think
Gears, and Forza.
yeah, I think some people don't understand that. They're like, oh, how can you be? And it's not that they're bad games. You have to understand something. They're like you, like me and you. We've been on the Xbox platform almost 20 years now, right? So
Yeah,
when we first played Halo, there was
right.
nothing like it. When we first,
Listen, I first played Halo on a Mac
oh wow, did you
before
really
Microsoft purchased Bungie. It was originally going to be on
on Mac?
the
Yeah,
Mac, and it was a third person top down, almost like a strategy type game.
yep,
You can actually pull that up on YouTube. It's a really funny video to look at.
yeah. I think
And then
they demoed it at Macworld if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they were purchased by Microsoft, and it became the first person shooter for the launch of the Xbox, which was, if it wasn't for that game, there would not probably be an Xbox.
Yeah, but you know what's
That's
interesting?
that's the thing. That's the thing. You know what I mean? They started with an exclusive game,
Yeah,
and it was important. But now to them, it just seems like none of this stuff is important anymore. And I'm not saying that it is. Maybe they're right, but there are two other consoles that are doing very well by using the old playbook. People seem to respond to that.
yeah. I think I've always said this. Exclusives matter. I mean, I don't know how you can downplay that. What's up, B Money?
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
you
know
know
how.
what's interesting though? The people that downplay the fact that you don't need exclusive games on a console are the ones that are talking about how you need exclusive content and services. You know what I mean? Have you seen those
Yes,
people who are
yes,
like,
yes, yes. I
you
have.
don't need, I'm going to do Jerry Seinfeld now. You don't need exclusives on a console. And then they're like, look at all the exclusive content day and date in xCloud. That's going to really differentiate it from everybody else's service. Well, that's what exclusive content does, right? It differentiates your platform.
Yeah, everyone talks about the Netflix model, and then they're quick to bring up,
Right. Isn't
Stranger
isn't
Things.
Netflix developing their own content? Isn't Netflix developing their own TV shows? Are the shows that Netflix the shows that they're developing, are they going to Hulu? No.
No,
So I don't know. It's weird. People are
yeah,
strange.
the people are strange. But you know what's interesting though, like they've talked about the hardware a little bit, but now we've got a
Right.
little more in depth look from Sony.
Yeah.
And we're not even, anywhere close to E3. And here's Sony with Mark Cerny, and they're releasing more information. We talked about the haptic controls of the DualShock 5. Mark Cerny seemed pretty high on the SSD.
Right.
That's going to be included in the
Well,
PlayStation
yeah,
5.
I think that, I mean, have you ever put an SSD, gone from a standard hard drive to an SSD in a laptop or something like that?
I'm experiencing SSD right now on my computer, man.
Yeah. It's night and day,
It's
right?
night and
It's
day.
ridiculous. Right.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it'll make a huge difference on a console.
yeah, no, really will. And by the way, Maury, with my PC build, I technically have Scarlet already.
You know what? I technically, everyone who has an Xbox One X basically has access to next generation software. So, is Halo Infinite going to look good on the Xbox One X? Yeah. Is it going to be native 4K? Maybe. It's not going to be 60 frames per second. Is native 4K and 60 frames per second enough to buy a $500 console again? I don't know. I think it's going to come down to exclusive games that look. This is the problem I have with people. I keep saying things like, have you seen The Last of Us 2, right? They just demoed that, right?
Oh, it looks amazing.
Was anyone asking if the game was 4K or 60 frames per second?
No,
They really weren't.
no,
They were
no.
looking at the game. That's what drives basic consumers, not the people on Twitter. That's not the market for console gaming. It's really not.
Well, they're not.
People look at games and they're like, "Did you see The Last of Us 2? I can't wait to play it. I'm going to get a PlayStation for it." Nobody's walking in and saying, "Give me the machine that does 4K and 60 frames per second natively." They're just
No,
not.
you're not doing that. You are looking at the visuals. You're saying, "Oh my God, you see how good that."
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Is that
I
game
mean,
4K? No, it's
you're
never
right.
that conversation.
For all the
Unless you're a hardcore
problems that
gamer.
for all the problems that Horizon Zero Dawn had, take a look at that game, right? And they're doing that stuff on the base PlayStation 4, and that's where the strength of having great developers internally comes to mind. You have to have that talent that's internal if you want to push your hardware or your service, right? I mean, if Sony decides to do everything Microsoft's doing next generation, right, with the PlayStation 5, and they have PlayStation Now, and they put all of their content day and date in PlayStation Now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which service is more attractive with the first party content?
I would say Sony, based on what we know
Exactly.
right now. Sony, yeah.
Exactly. Microsoft needs content that's great. They don't
Yeah.
need content that's good. They don't need content that, well, I liked it. Those people, I kind of liked it. They need content that's great.
Well, Morty,
And
as long as you like it. I know
right,
what
as long as I
I,
like it,
I know what you mean,
well,
man.
that's great. I mean, I like a lot of things too that people hate, but I'm just talking in general from, in terms of actually being something that sells.
It's about optics,
They
man.
need
I always say that it's about optics.
exactly. That's the thing with Sony too. They have that's the one area where I think that it's a little unfair because I think that Sony's so good at optics, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're better than Xbox when it comes to that, but they're just so good at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Microsoft's just so bad at it. They're just so bad at it. Like having, it's just I don't know what it is. It's just it's almost like they put something in people's punch or something, Sony, and you drink it, and all of a sudden you're in love.
they're slowly
It's
they're drugging us.
right. It's like a Spanish fly or something, right?
Oh boy.
I
Oh my god. Oh,
don't know what it is.
I don't know what Spanish fly
I,
is.
I just heard of that stuff. Yeah, I don't know either. I
Yeah, I
just
don't know
heard
what
of
it
it. I
is.
don't know what it is.
I heard it does stuff, but I don't know exactly what.
Right.
um, but I mean, I was reading this article where you're on Wired, and I got very excited, man. I mean, like all the stuff they're talking about,
Yeah, they're
updates to
good
the
at it.
UI, how you'll be able to pick certain segments of a game to load, or if you want to remove a part of a game, like like Sony's like if you're playing if you want to play multiplayer and the game has single player, you can you can download the single player portion of the game later on.
Yeah.
Or if you have both and you finish the campaign, you could delete the campaign mode, or you could look at uh, certain missions in a game and see what trophies you can earn. See what see what the story's like, what you can do and stuff like that. See what your friends are playing. So it sounds like there's an evolution of the UI. It's a little more, I guess, alive. If that's I don't know if that's the right word, but it seems like it's a little more robust.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
some of that stuff you can do now. Some of that stuff you could download campaign mode first or
yeah,
online portions first. But I think everyone's expecting a different or an upgrade to the UI next generation, at least on the PlayStation. I think that they could use an update to the UI.
I
I
love.
don't have many problems with it.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
think
I
it's
love the
really
UI.
smooth. Um, but again, it's just a new generation, so I'm sure they're going to do something a little bit different, like they're doing with the controller and the hardware. But I don't know. I'm just right now. I'm just very excited for. I'm just a console gamer. You know what I mean? I'm not one of these guys who's into Microsoft as a brand. You know what I mean? Where I have to love everything they do. I like the 360. I like the Xbox One. It's just I'm very excited about what Sony's going to do because to me, they're still that console gaming company, and they've delivered games this generation that I just love. So right now, I'm very excited for PlayStation 5. That could pivot when Microsoft decides to actually say something or show something.
Yep. No, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that was interesting too with the Wired article is that they the journalist said that the PlayStation 5 dev kit actually looked a lot like the one that Gizmodo reported last week. You know, that one that we've seen, that funky
Oh yeah, with
looking.
all the vents on it,
Yeah,
right?
that the dev kit actually. Now that's probably not going to be what the final product looks like.
Do
Um,
you care that much what a console looks like? That much? I mean, I know it's
I
kind of
mean,
it's part of marketing, it's part of optics. Look how cool it looks and all. But
I don't
I mean, if you
know.
if you see a bunch of games that are just amazing looking, does it really matter to you that
I think
it has all those vents and shit on it?
I think in the beginning for me, it's like it's not going to stop me from buying a PlayStation 5, right? But I could see the optics of a poorly designed console at the beginning of a launch, turning people off, some people off.
You think? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know.
I mean, you
It
remember
seems odd to me that
remember
somebody
the
would buy
Xbox
it
One?
because
People
of.
were like, "Oh, it looks like a big VCR from 1984." You know.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, I guess you're right. I'm talking about that's awful. I mean, that was terrible. I'm not talking about Microsoft design. I'm talking about just in general. Like the Xbox One original was so bad. I could see you saying that, but I mean, just in general, like they both kind of look similar. If one's a little bit less cool looking than the other, I don't think people are going to be that upset about it.
yeah. If it looks like the dev kit, I'm gonna say it's ugly, but I'm still getting it.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not getting it for its looks. I'm getting it for its for the games.
Exactly.
You
That's
know.
what I keep trying to. That's what I don't understand with this whole Twitter gaming and there's. I just don't. I honestly don't get it. I mean, how could you not? There are people like legitimately that won't play on PlayStation. They won't play God of War. They won't play, all the games that came out this generation. And I'm thinking, why? Why would you deny yourself
You got to
that
rep
stuff?
you got to rep your brand, Worry.
I mean, look, I'm insane. I'm insane when it comes to Apple, right? But it's not like I don't know some of the problems that they have. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be out there like pushing them. Or if somebody asks me, I do this all the time at home. People ask me like, oh, what about the new iPad? What about the new iPhone? I tell people, don't ask me. I'm a fanatic. I'm probably going to lie to you. Just don't ask me.
Don't ask. Yeah. You,
Right.
basically, what you're saying is you're not going to get an unbiased opinion from you over the new Apple.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? Physical games for the PlayStation 5 will use a 100 GB optical disc.
Yeah, and it has 100 gigabyte optical discs. It has an optical drive, and the optical drive is also a 4K Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
So, how
Uh,
about Last of Us on 2 discs? For God's sake.
well, that's insane.
Exactly.
Let's see. PlayStation 5 will boost, which we already knew, which we talked about earlier.
Right.
Same CPU based on AMD's Ryzen line and GPU based on the Navi family. Scarlett's going to have the same internal. So, like, you're
Right.
right. They're going to have the same, like, guts, if you will, for the most part.
See, I think about shit like this all the time. I
Hmm.
see people arguing about like, hey, I'm playing everybody's third party game the best on the Xbox One X. My first inclination is what happens next generation? If that's your sole reason, what happens when that's not a reason anymore? Doesn't it always come down to content?
Oh, they'll just move the goalpost.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with liking something. I'm just trying to figure out like, what is it that what is it beyond playing video games? Most people buy video game consoles for that word video games,
Yeah.
right?
No, I agree
So
with you. I agree with
I
you.
think next generation, all bets are off. Like you said, is it possible that the Xbox is the dominant platform for console gamers? It's possible if they have those games that console gamers want, not just the third party games, but stuff that makes you want to buy that platform. I don't think Microsoft's though communicated the idea that you even need to buy an Xbox next generation. Whereas Sony's sort of all about, I mean, they're starting now talking about the hardware. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well, I mean
So,
that's the point of this article. I mean they're I mean here we are, about a year away from launch, and they're already giving insight into what we can expect from the PlayStation 5 in terms of the controller, the SSD, the kind of their vision of the console. We also Bluepoint's actually working on a big PlayStation 5
oh, I know.
exclusive, and I'm like, what
You
is
know what's
that?
interesting? Yeah, I think it might be because they're going to need some kind of service-based game, right? They have to. They have to have something that resonates with multiplayer gamers and that's exclusive to their platform. I'm thinking it might be SOCOM.
You think? Well, I heard rumor that Gorilla was working SOCOM.
Really? I know they're
Yes,
working on Horizon 2. They're doing two big games like
that's
that.
what I
I
that's
don't. I
that's what
don't
I
know.
heard. But I could see, but see, it's interesting because in the article there is the reference of Bluepoint working on a PlayStation 5 game, and I'm gonna pull the quote here. Hold on a sec here. Got to find it. Where's the PlayStation 5 quote with? Hold on.
You're like, hold on. I'm gonna
I
pull it.
can't
Dead
find it
air.
now. I can't
Dead
find
air.
it. Oh, here we go.
Whatever.
Here we go. So they talk about dev kits being out, controller prototypes have been rolling out, but they just say we're looking. No one is ready to name specific titles are developing for the PlayStation 5. We're working on a big one right now, says Marco Thrush. He's president of Bluepoint Games, which most recently worked on last year's PlayStation 4 remake, Shadow of the Colossus, which was an amazing remake, by the way. And Marco Thrush says, I'll let you figure out the rest. So it's like, is it a sequel to Shadow of the Colossus? Like, what are they working on then? Or is it another, is it a new like IP, or is it SOCOM? Like I'm just wondering, because look, Bluepoint's talented. Like I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about them being a talented developer. I mean, they've done some great work with some of the remakes, remasters of games that they worked on.
I would assume it's new. If it isn't new, it's going to be like a remake, like a SOCOM or something like that. But see, that's the thing. They just have so many internal studios working on things for them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And they're announcing things so early that the excitement builds up. So I mean, even The Last of Us 2 again. What's it, a year away?
The Last of Us 2 is February 21st, 2020. So,
right. So I mean, we have all this information already, and the hype's not going to die down.
No.
That's the thing with Microsoft. Just make me excited. That's all. It's not hard to make me excited. I'm old, so I pop a Viagra, and I'm good to go.
Oh my goodness. Marco Thrush actually from Bluepoint. He actually makes comments. He actually comments on the SSD. He says the SSD has me really excited. You don't need to do gameplay hacks anymore to artificially slow players down, lock them behind doors, anything like that. Back in the cartridge days, games used to load instantly. We're kind of going back to what consoles used to be. So that's a great. I mean, that's awesome, man. Like that instant loading time.
Right.
I kind of have that a little bit right now with like my games on my PC definitely load so much faster.
Flip flopper.
Hey, let me tell you something. I was playing Metro Exodus.
Keep talking about PC.
Oh, I love it. Rory, forget it's not. Look, and I'm not even playing on a 4K monitor. I play at 2K resolution. At high frame rates, and sometimes I'll enable ray tracing, and it's a different experience. Like I was playing Destiny 2 on PC, and then went to Xbox One X to play with.
So I wouldn't even buy a console. I mean, next generation. I wouldn't even buy a Microsoft console next generation if I were you.
No,
I would just spend the money on the PlayStation.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't really need to. And if I want to, if it gets to a point where the games are, a little more demanding on my hardware, I can always take that money that I was going to spend on a Scarlet and use it to upgrade my GPU and CPU if I need to. Whatever I need to do to upgrade my PC. Yeah, it's going to be a little more money, but I'm going to get a better gaming experience out of it potentially. What's up, Al? Alcoholicos is Master Race. But I'm telling you, Warrior.
Wouldn't it suck if you do all that and you get all those great looking games on your PC, but then the PlayStation exclusives still look better than anything you have? That's what I'm talking about.
That would be, but you know what? That would be a credit to Sony's first party. Sony.
But they've done that this generation, right? I mean, there's a lot of games on that platform that look really good.
Well, I mean, look at even on the vanilla PS4 with God of War. I mean, that game looks amazing.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not a PC guy. So, I mean, if I was, I definitely wouldn't be buying another Xbox. I'd be buying, upgrades like you said. There's really no reason if you have a PC and you're comfortable gaming on it to use a console. I'm just not a PC guy. I'm not going to use Windows in my home. So I just stick with consoles. I have a Microsoft console, but I'm not going to buy a PC just to game. If I did, I probably would not game on a console.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
But I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't go on Twitter and announce, I've been in Xbox for 20 years. This is the first generation. I'm not buying an Xbox. Wink, wink, nod, nod, fanboys. Come get me.
Oh my goodness! I on occasion do like to troll a little bit. Have fun, but
I didn't even see that as trolling. I just read it and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know if you were or not.
I was trolling a little bit.
People are upset.
But no, I mean, but to me it was, part of me saying that was like, wow, like I've been on this platform for 20 years, and now,
Yeah.
and it was more of it was more of a compliment to Microsoft. Like, hey, thanks for giving me the option to play on either console or PC. Like, I appreciate that. You know?
Yeah, they don't care, right? They don't care about their console sales. They just want you to play their games. So they're not. That's the point I was trying to make when I was talking. I think I was talking to Tim, and he was saying something like, they're making hardware, so that means they're a hardware company. I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but Harley Davidson makes motorcycle jackets and hats, but they're not a clothing company. You know what I mean?
It's a great analogy.
It's
No, they're not. I mean,
it's that
they're a software
I
company.
mean, they're a software and services company. Their thought process is software and services first. Yes, they make hardware, but the way they communicate to the consumer isn't the way that a hardware company communicates to the consumer. That's why people get upset when they say they don't care about their console. Look at what Sony's doing. They're using their software to hype their console. Well, that's because they're a hardware company.
Yeah, exactly. Microsoft is.
It's very different. They're making hardware, right?
Yeah.
And it's good hardware, but their thought process is not hardware first. That's all.
No, no. Well, you're right. I mean, I've always said this. Like Microsoft's DNA is a software as a services based company now. Ever since really Satya took over, and it's on Xbox to figure
Right. I
out
mean, they
a
make
way to
hardware too.
fit
Yeah.
into Microsoft now. It's not the other
Right.
way around. Like Microsoft has to figure out,
Right.
or Xbox needs to figure out how they fit into the DNA of Microsoft now and what they are as a company.
Exactly. Exactly. And a lot of people are having problems with that. It's not about fitting into the DNA of the console space or what you think it is. All they're concerned with is how Xbox fits into the DNA of Microsoft. That's it. That's all that matters. It's the same as with any company, really.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? This arbitrary fight between companies, most of the time, people create that in their mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of times it doesn't exist.
No, I agree. That's a great point. Yeah, I'm definitely after reading this article, man. I'm definitely forward to learning more about the PlayStation 5, man. You know, when I hear faster load times, the new UI, the haptic control is actually really cool. I'm glad that they're doing that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I think Nintendo has done that with the Switch, right? With the like what they call the HD Rumble or whatever.
I'm not too sure about that.
I thought there was something
I don't
about
know
that.
if it's the same.
Maybe it's not the same.
I think I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't remember any kind of haptic feedback in the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a Switch Lite. So
I could be totally
there's
making
definitely
that
no
up, by the way.
haptic feedback in that.
No. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it, man. In terms of what they talked about with the PlayStation 5. So I think the biggest
So if you
thing.
were if you're a betting man, right, next generation,
Yeah.
who's the number one console? Not in terms of Twitter or groups of people on Twitter loving Xbox and PlayStation. I just mean for general consumers.
If I was a betting,
Say it.
look,
Say it.
I would say
Say it.
I would say Nintendo. I'm just kidding.
Well, you're not wrong there.
No,
But
I
that's
mean
okay.
it's Nintendo's doing like just. I mean they're knocking it out of the door right now. But again, what's driving that platform? Exclusives.
Yeah, Nintendo's a different animal altogether. They're basically, I don't mean this in a bad way. Nintendo's a toy company. So is Sony and Microsoft to a degree, right? I mean, you're buying something to play with. But if I had to bet, 20 years from now, 30 years from
would
now,
you consider console games as adult toys?
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I know where you're going with that too. I'm just not going there.
You know me too well.
Right. But if I had to bet, like somebody asked me like 20 years from now, do you think who has a console on the market? Nintendo definitely has hardware, right? Sony may have hardware. Microsoft's gone in terms of console gaming. I think they're just
You think they're
going that route.
You think
There's going to be an app somewhere. There'll be an app on Windows machines or an app you can subscribe to on like an Android device or maybe even an iOS device if Apple decides to play nice with Microsoft, which they have in the past. I mean, you can get a lot of Windows apps on Macs and iOS devices. But I don't know if Microsoft really needs to have a console.
Well,
a piece of dedicated hardware that you buy and you put under your television set beyond a PC or a tablet or something like that.
I mean, I think when they talk about reaching 2 billion gamers, 2 billion gamers aren't going to buy consoles. So how do you get to 2 billion? You break you.
Well, there aren't 2 billion gamers that play the type of games that we play either.
No, but that's my like. That's
You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, that's like.
Right. My mom
But
plays games. She's not excited about the next Doom.
you mean your mom's not excited for Halo Infinite or The Last of Us 2?
No, not at all. Not at all. Right.
But but Phil talks about bringing down those walls, and the console is a wall. It's a barrier of entry. Like that's there's no I don't think there's no debate to be had there. It's a barrier. It's a barrier there to enter that space. You have to pay $400 or $500 to buy this hardware. If you remove that barrier, and like what
Yeah,
Phil
but
says,
that's a lot of PR talk. I mean, a phone is a barrier to communication, isn't it? But what are you going to do? You're going to use mental telepathy to talk to one another? There has to be hardware.
where if
You have to have hardware.
if I could be like
Somebody's
Professor
got to
X,
make
I would.
hardware. Right. Somebody has to make hardware. There's hardware companies. They're not going away. Somebody
Oh
has
no,
to make hardware.
I'm not saying there's never going to be hardware because, like you talked about,
Right.
like if Microsoft wants to have applications everywhere, well, you need hardware to have that
Sure.
application.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
I just don't. I think just based on what he's saying though is that at some point we want people to be on the application. We want to bring down that barrier of that entry barrier of having to buy a console in the traditional sense to play games, console games, and bringing it
Right.
on a streaming service. But you're right. But in order to have that, you need to have phones, TVs, computers.
Exactly.
If they could get it on a Nintendo Switch, I'm a betting man that they would do it if Nintendo would allow
In
it.
order for xCloud to be successful, right? Microsoft isn't Apple, right? Apple has services tied to their hardware, right?
Yeah.
And their hardware is geared towards consumers. That's why they sort of dress it up and they talk, sexy about hardware. They cater to consumers to make them
iPhone 11.
attractive.
Yeah.
Right. So
Taste it.
Microsoft wants xCloud everywhere. It has to be everywhere. It can't just be on Xboxes. I mean, it's going to be on PC. PCs are all over the place. Are a lot of PC gamers going to subscribe to a service like xCloud? I don't know. I'm not a PC gamer, but I think they're going to have to offer it everywhere.
Yeah, no,
I don't know how it will work. I don't know how it will work on a Nintendo platform beyond streaming. You're not going to download the games natively to your hard drive because they're not going to run on the hardware. You're going to have to stream it.
you have to stream it.
And I'm not streaming anything ever. It's
Yeah.
not happening when it comes to video games.
A graphic guy in the live chat has an interesting question. He says, "Does having a piece of hardware dedicated to gaming make you value gaming more?"
Me or people in general?
I don't. I think maybe that question is of people in general, but I think it's an interesting question.
It depends on, I guess, most people growing up. If you grew up playing games on a PC, you're going to value a PC for gaming. You're not just going to all of a sudden throw your PC away because somebody says you can play on a console, right? And vice versa. If you grew up playing on a console, you value gaming on that platform. I mean, I don't think anybody is just, gaming on some device that nobody knows about. I have no idea what this is, but I'm going to game on it. You have to make a choice. Eventually, you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to content. It comes down to the type of content that you enjoy. If PlayStation's making these great AAA single player narrative driven games, and that's the type of experience that you want, you have to value the PlayStation hardware, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Microsoft's making the type of games that you like playing, Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, what's the other big multiplayer one they have? I mean, if that's the stuff you like, you can value the Xbox or you can value the PC. Either way, you're valuing a piece of hardware.
Yeah, for me, it's. I don't think having I don't know. I look at it like I think I'm with you. Like I look at it like a content. Like I just go where the content is. Like I'm not like it's funny. Like I see people say, "Oh, I'm an Xbox guy. I'm a PlayStation guy," and I'm like, I'm just a gamer. Like I'm not loyal to a platform. I go typically where the games are.
Well,
I think that's how I've always been.
I understand brand loyalty. I mean, brands, marketing and things like that. Brands. There's a lot of brand loyalty out there, you know what I mean, when it comes to certain brands. And Some of it's earned and some of it is just marketing. But I think, again, if you like, say you're a guy who likes, or gal who likes story driven, big, graphically intensive games on console, where are you going to go right now?
Nintendo. Trick question.
Well, then Nintendo's a good point, though, right? People, there's a lot of brand loyalty when it comes to Nintendo, right? For the most part, I would say they've earned it.
I mean,
They just
they have. I mean, they put out good
they make
games.
great content. They make
Yeah.
great content, and you could say, well, they forced me to buy their hardware. Well, they're a hardware company. They don't have to change because Microsoft decided that they're not going to be a hardware company. They're going to make hardware, but they're going to not be a hardware company. They're not going to be hardware centric. Nobody has to change because your favorite company is doing something. That's a lot of the things I see from people, right?
Yeah. Well, let
Remember
me.
the beginning of the generation? It was we're in this to win it. Remember when Phil Spencer talked
Yeah.
about we're in it to win it?
Yeah.
We're going to sell 200 million pieces of hardware. The same people who were behind that are all of a sudden the same people who are behind exclusives are anti-consumer. We don't need hardware. Play your games where you want, right?
Uh huh.
So, 90% of the time people change on a whim when it comes to, the things that they like, telling them what they're supposed to like and what they're not supposed to like.
It's a great
That's
point,
why
man.
that's why I don't really put much stock in a lot of people who built up their personas online, you know, based on, Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo, because they change literally every day.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't think there's. I get the sense that there isn't one right way to do this. I mean, I know we talked about like Sony
There isn't.
and Nintendo doing well because of exclusives. So I think in that regard,
Right.
I think that's the one maybe constant in the industry, exclusives, because you need those differentiators like Netflix and Hulu. They need those differentiators, those exclusive content to get people to want to subscribe, to get people to want to get into that ecosystem, right? I think if
Right.
Hulu and Netflix only aired reruns of Seinfeld, I don't think a lot of people are going to want to be jumping to Netflix or Hulu. You know what I mean? Like but
I'm just not surprised. Like, I don't understand the shock. Like, a lot of people have this shock that Microsoft is, not talking about hardware, or they don't care if you buy one piece of hardware. They're a software company. Windows 10 is essentially everywhere, right? They're
yes,
not locking it down to that's who they are. That's not who Sony is. And Sony doesn't have to become that in order for you to be comfortable with what Microsoft is doing. Nintendo doesn't have to become that in order for you to be comfortable with what Microsoft is doing. If you need Sony to do exactly what Microsoft is doing, then the problem probably lies with you and your sort of strange fear behind what a company that you don't work for is doing.
yeah. Well, I guess my point too is
Unless it's Apple, then they're the best ever.
no bias here.
Right.
My point is,
No bias.
I don't think just based on what we've seen though, like and how, like if we were to go by that trope of or that narrative of, it has to be like this in order for you to be successful. You have to have a robust online platform. You have to have access to friends list. You
Switch
have to
proves
have.
that, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to
Right.
have high resolution, the best graphics. Switch has kind of trumped that in a way that kind of bucked that notion, and that's why I'm saying I think that the gaming pie has gotten so big that there isn't necessarily one right way to do this. I think you could do this in
There
different
isn't.
ways and be successful doing it, so long as you
But
have the
listen, there's
content
a
to kind
there's a
of back
right
that up.
way to do it. There's a right way to do it for Microsoft. There's a right way to do it for Sony, and there's a right way to do it for Nintendo. It's just that the way that Sony and Nintendo are doing it is similar, and the way that Microsoft is attempting to do it, it is drastically different.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
all it is.
let me ask you: do you think that
And
Sony's?
Apple's better than everybody, by the way.
Oh my God, uh, Jesus! Actually, I did look at the. I for the first time in like 10 years, I actually looked at the iPhone and thought about maybe making the switch, but I was like, nah, I don't know.
I
Um,
don't hear you. I'm not hearing anything you're saying right now.
uh,
All right.
so, so do you? Let me ask
Oh, are
you.
you going to be one of those people? Are you going to be one of those people, Enrique, that never used Android, but all of a sudden that Microsoft's making a device that runs Android next year? They're going to be like, I never knew that Android did this. I think I'll switch.
I already have
XCloud.
no. I already have Android, so
I know.
Yeah. No, I might. But I thought about switching the iPhone. I mean, it's a good phone. Um,
I
you know,
mean, you should give it a try. You should see the operating system that Android was meant to be before they threw it out and the guy left and took it and made Android.
oh wow, 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 wow.
I'm just kidding with you, man. I'm really
Oh
just
my!
kidding.
I will say this though: the iPhone that I had, and this I think I had the iPhone 4S.
Oh my
So
God,
yeah, this is like 10 years
long
ago.
time ago.
But let me tell you
Right.
something. Still one of the best from a like an operating like the OS. The
Mhm.
phone never crashed on me. Never had any
Well,
issues with it.
that's why we get back to the right way to do it for different companies, right?
Yeah,
You have an operating system tied to hardware. Nobody else can have it on their hardware. Like Android could be everywhere, right? How many carriers make phones that run Android?
yeah,
There's countless carriers, right? And you could have four people with four different phones, and they've got four different versions of Android. Nobody's up to date. It's just different ways to do things. That's all.
yeah,
And Apple's the best.
yeah. Some guy saying Nintendo is doing well because they targeted their demographic, and that is the handheld market. What do you think about that, Worry?
Uh, I don't know. I was thinking about that. Where does Nintendo go after the Switch? Can they make a home console again that isn't portable? I don't think they can.
No, I don't think they can. I think making that portable console slash or that portable home console,
Light, Switch Light, right?
I think that's brilliant. I think
You know what?
that's
It's
to me.
interesting when you look at everybody wants to get their games everywhere, right? And they're scrambling. How can I get my games everywhere? Nintendo. This is why I'm saying so Sony doesn't have to do what Microsoft is doing in order for Microsoft to be right. Nintendo knows people want to take their software with them, but they're a hardware company. So what do? They make a console that you could take with you. That's right for them, obviously. They're selling in an age of the smartphone, in an age where mobile's going to take over and nobody wants to buy a dedicated piece of hardware for gaming because they've got a phone or a tablet. The Switch is selling, correct?
Yeah,
Now that isn't going to work, I don't think, for Sony or Microsoft. In fact, Sony tried it with the Vita and it failed miserably.
yeah, it didn't work.
Right. It's just they've got to find their niche and work it. And I think for Sony, it's making hardware that gets people excited and then showcasing the hardware with first party exclusives. And I think Microsoft, having always been, a technology company, a software company, a services company, and in the PC market, that they're going to skew towards that crowd, which is, I think you're seeing that. I think they really kind of cater to PC a lot more than they do the console gamer, at least over the last few years.
Well, we see games that are exclusive on the PC
Exactly. You
that
see,
will never make it
right,
that at least from what we know aren't
right.
going to be on the Xbox One X or S or whatever
Right.
the case
And if
is.
it's really about breaking down barriers, why isn't that barrier being broken down? Why is the barrier between console games going to PC broken down? But why is that barrier between PC games coming to console not broken down? It's just
Yeah, it's
that's how
interesting. I
they're
don't
going to do
know.
things.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you'd love to pick Phil Spencer's mind about that, but that's interesting.
Although
Yeah.
you are getting Flight Simulator on the Xbox console.
Oh my god.
I know, right? People love Flight Simulator all of a sudden.
You know, it's funny. I've seen that. I'm like, what? I mean, I
That's why I
get.
don't put much stock in. I don't put stock in anybody online, including me. I just don't. People are just so fickle.
Worry, I like
They're
your
just
tasted
like
videos
anything.
though.
Tasted. I like my tasted too.
Yeah. So, but you know, it's interesting. I do think though Sony is kind of pivoting here. I mean, and they don't talk about this in the article. I mean, the article is more focused on PlayStation 5. But when you look at what they've
Pivoting a
done
lot.
with PlayStation Now more recently, and you hear Jim Ryan
Mhm.
talking about complacency and how the incumbent
Sure.
hasn't, we can't be complacent. I mean, don't you think they're pivoting a little bit? Like, I mean,
Pivoting to what?
like pivoting to kind of mimicking what what Google's doing with Stadia and what Microsoft's doing with XCloud. Now,
Look, I know you love Google and Stadia. That thing is not going to be what you think it is. It's
it's the
just not.
it's the future.
It's not going to. It's
It's
just
the
not going to
future,
happen.
worry.
Listen, Sony's had streaming
Taste it.
for forever, right? They've had
Yeah.
PlayStation now forever. They've had streaming forever. The idea that just because it sucked That's why people didn't use it. I don't think that that's the best case scenario to use. I just don't think people in general want to stream things. This idea that Xbox fans who love 4K and 60 frames per second, but they're going to shrink it down to a 5-inch smartphone attached to their controller and walk around, it's not going to be big. It's not going to be that big. It's just another way. It's like if you have a house with 4 doors in it, and each door cash comes through, right? You're going to open all the doors no matter what.
But don't you?
It's just another way to make money. That's all.
But you don't think that maybe there's?
I don't think they're going to replace the console with it. You think that they're doing it because they want to get out of the console market?
Who? Nintendo?
Sony.
No. Well, okay. So there's this, and I get this. There's an idea out there that there's a younger generation of gamers, like my kids.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. This younger generation of gamer thing, you hear it every generation, right? There was a younger generation of gamer who bought the NES. They grew up, right? Who bought the Super Nintendo when they all grew up? The people that bought the Super Nintendo, if they were all young kids, they all grew up. Who bought the Nintendo 64? They all grew up. Who bought the next system? Everybody keeps growing up, and yet people keep buying hardware that's dedicated to gaming. So I don't think there's going to be a point where all of a sudden everybody grew up and then we're done. People are still, this generation, right? Everybody grew up last generation. Who bought the PlayStation 4 to the tune of 100 million consoles? Why aren't these kids stopping buying consoles?
Well, I mean,
they're just not.
Yeah, and I
Your
get
kids
that.
are going to grow up, right? Your kids are going to grow up, but they're going to buy a console. They're going to buy a piece of hardware because it's just the way they market it to them.
But here's
nobody's going to stay there.
Here's the interesting thing about my kids. They don't want to play on PlayStation. They want to play on Xbox. They will play on the Nintendo.
They don't want to play on Xbox?
No, they will play on the Nintendo Switch because they can take it wherever they go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they love Fortnite.
Right.
I get the sense that, and I could be wrong. I mean, I just get the sense that perhaps maybe that we're seeing the emphasis of streaming. Maybe that's more about not me as a gamer, but maybe more about my kids and their expectations of how to experience gaming and how they're going to interact with people online and how they're going to interact with entertainment. I mean, I think it's very different than how we kind of grew up, where we had, VHS players, we had DVD players, we had, we didn't stream anything. I mean,
Right.
I don't even have one of my TVs in my house. I don't even have a cable box because Xfinity has a streaming app. So long as I subscribe to Xfinity, I can stream content to my TV.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say definitively that I know that, that's going to take over and all of a sudden people aren't going to be interested in hardware. What I can say definitively is that there are hardware companies that aren't going to stop making hardware. That's what they do.
Well, yeah. I mean, like alcohol.
There has to be some place, right? There has to be some place to play these games or to stream them.
Oh, yes,
if you're
absolutely.
saying that everyone in 30 years from now is going to be playing on an iPhone or an Android phone or a tablet, and they're not going to be interested in owning anything, they just want to stream it and that's it, I'm probably not the best person to talk to about that because I reject that idea outright.
So Alcohol Cost in live chat says my 4-year-old daughter only likes iPad games though. So that's kind of like what I'm alluded to. Like I feel like the expectation. Well,
she's correct. She's correct because she's using an Apple device.
So if she was using like a Samsung tablet, it'd be different.
Right, it wouldn't be correct.
It would be correct.
A Samsung. Did you just say an Android tablet?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
That's a funny thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Slow-mo backslap says we can't say today's kids with different technology will definitely stick with consoles instead of phones when that kind of tech wasn't available for past generations.
Well, we have technology that wasn't available when we were kids that's available now, and we didn't, abandon the idea of playing our games. I have a phone, I have a tablet, I've had them for some time. PCs have been around. When I was a kid, they just started to become prominent. Now they're everywhere. I'm not a PC gamer. You're not streaming your video games, are you? You can do that right now. This idea of Microsoft's going to make the Xbox, everybody who has an Xbox has a server and they can stream their games. That was at the launch of the PlayStation. 4. Your PS4 can be a server. You can do share play. You
Yeah.
can do remote
Yep.
play,
Yep.
right? You can do remote play. Nobody's doing it. I don't
Yeah.
think because Microsoft's doing it, all of a sudden it's going to become this thing that everybody wants to do.
Or
But I
because
also know that I could be wrong. I just don't think I am.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, for me, it's fascinating because I feel like we're seeing kind of a paradigm shift a little bit, or we're seeing companies try different avenues to deliver gaming experiences other than what we have traditionally, experienced growing up. Playing on a console, and I just find it interesting. I don't know, like who knows? No one knows for sure what's going to happen in the future, right? But I think it's interesting. I think with Google coming into the picture, I do think that Sony potentially might be pivoting and including some of those features. Well, they already have, like you said, but I think maybe more of an emphasis or maybe more of an investment in building up their infrastructure to offer better streaming
Sure.
services. But I don't think,
Everybody needs
though,
to make money.
but I don't think I don't think that's going to be the focal point for them. I think it's like in terms of their marketing, I think it's going to be, hey, PlayStation 5, we got this nice console for you, blah, blah,
Sure.
blah. And
It's
by
going
the
to be.
way, we have PlayStation Now if you're interested in that.
Definitely. Definitely. I think that's going to happen because they're a hardware company and they're going to stay hardware centric. Just because Microsoft isn't and they're making hardware doesn't mean everybody else has to stop
Yeah.
communicating to consumers in a way that's different. That's all it is. They're communicating to hardcore gamers in a way that they're used to being communicated to. Microsoft's making hardware too. It's going to be good hardware, but their foot forward is not as hardware when it comes to Xbox. It's a software and services. Now, if you look at their Surface line, the way they communicate with consumers, it's very much hardware centric, right? They have
Yeah.
commercials where they hired a guy named MacBook Pro to poke fun at MacBooks. And they do that because they want to sell that hardware, right? There's a way to communicate this idea with people, and that's the difference. With an Xbox, it's more software and services. With PlayStation, it's hardware centric.
Yeah. Well, and with the option behind the scenes of, some of the other stuff that Microsoft's doing. But it's interesting. Like I don't think there's one right way. I think the pie's so big now. Like I said earlier,
There
I
really
think,
isn't.
yeah, I
You
think,
just pick where you like to be, and then just leave everything else alone.
yeah, exactly.
That's all.
Yeah. So, Worry, let me ask you something.
It's not like $3 trillion companies are going to go away overnight.
No, that's not going to happen. That's definitely not going to happen. um, what do you think, Worry? So, what do you? So, I think I don't know if I asked you this earlier. I know you asked me earlier. Are you going to buy PlayStation 5 day one and a Scarlet day one, or are you going to hold out on one of the two?
I'm definitely getting a PlayStation 5 day one. I'm probably, and I'm not sure, but I'm probably going to hold out on getting the Scarlet for a while, unless they communicate something to me that's, enticing. Apart from just being, hey, we're a PlayStation 5 2. We have the same amount of power, and here's State of Decay 3. I'm gonna be like, oh, no, thank you.
State of Decay 3. Oh my god. That's I don't want to see another State of Decay. That's another conversation. Yeah, I'm gonna hold out for a little bit, man. Like I said, I got a PC right now, so I have.
You don't need anything else.
Yeah, I'm and I'm still tied into the ecosystem.
Right.
And so that to me that was a great move by Microsoft. I wouldn't have made the switch had that not been something that they had done. Well, I should say maybe I would
I hear
have.
you.
Maybe I would have, but they made that transition much easier, especially after being in the ecosystem for almost 20 years now.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Alcoholics.
I'm just sorry you have to have Windows in your home. I apologize for that.
Oh my goodness. Alcoholic Cost says PlayStation 5 day one. Scarlet needs to differentiate itself from high end PC for me to jump. That's kind of where I'm at. And Al's got a beast rig of a PC, by the way. I think he's got like a 2080 Ti.
But see, it's interesting how PlayStation doesn't have to differentiate themselves from a high end PC, but Microsoft and the Xbox Scarlet do.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes down to content. They have to differentiate on content.
Yeah. Z Black Rider says, but Scarlet will release with games. What games? I've heard people make that argument. Oh, well, Scarlet's going to release with games. We know about Halo Infinite, but what other games? You know, and look,
We'll have to wait and see.
yeah, and I can't give credit as much as I admire and appreciate and think that Microsoft was very smart for making those studio acquisitions. I can't give them a grade of an A for work that I haven't seen yet. You know,
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait and see.
yeah, I have to wait and see. So I see, but I see people that worry give Microsoft a lot of praise. Oh, they're gonna have all these games on Scarlet. Well, yeah, but
Well,
are those games going to be good? I mean, we don't
the
know.
people, those people that you're talking about, go to their page and you'll see like Xbox Forever. So it's kind of like, I use the analogy, don't ask the Ford dealer about Chevy. So you can expect that reaction from some people. That's why I don't take anybody online seriously when they give their opinions. It's just you're going to get bias from everybody, and that's including me.
Wow,
So just make your own opinion, go where you like, and that's it.
yeah. Slow-mo, what are you talking about? Ask Forte. He says they will outsell everyone at launch. Are you talking about the Scarlet? Slow-mo says I'm building a PC, keeping the Xbox One X to play with friends who aren't on PC, getting PS5 day one. Alcoholic says I wonder if Scarlet and PC will be cross-play for everything. I think they will be. I think first party.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more cross-play next console generation. But I definitely think with Microsoft first party, that's obviously going to be cross-play. It already is right now. But I think we'll see more
Well,
of that.
I hate to cut out. I have to go eat. It's very important before I go to the gym to eat.
Yes, Warren, we don't want you to pass out before you eat or before you go to the gym, man. That would be a good look, man. All right, everyone, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. But Warren, man, thanks for coming by and hanging out for a little bit, man.
Buddy.
I appreciate
No
the time,
problem.
man. Always great talking video games with you, man. We're gonna have to run some Destiny sometime soon because I know you're a big fan of Destiny too.
Oh yeah, all of a sudden I love it.
All right, everyone. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Really appreciate the support. And by the way, real quick announcement. There will be no BRAP tomorrow on Wednesday. We're going to actually move BRAP this week to Thursday. So just kind of quick update with regards to our schedule for this week. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by, hanging out with us. Worry. Always a pleasure. We will see you
got
guys
it. Take care, buddy.
next time. Peace.